I was 17 when this happened. It was one of those cold October nights, windy with a constant drizzle tapping against the windows. My parents had gone out of town for the weekend, leaving me home alone. Nothing unusual. I actually liked having the house to myself. Quiet, peaceful. I made popcorn, dimmed the lights, and threw on a horror movie I'd already seen a dozen times. Just background noise while I scrolled through my phone. Our house sits at the edge of a wooded neighborhood, and beyond the backyard is just forest. No other houses behind us, just trees and silence. Around 10:30, I paused the movie to check the front door. Locked. Same with the back. I always double-checked everything before settling in for the night. I pulled the curtains shut, turned on the porch lights, and headed upstairs. But just as I was brushing my teeth, I heard a soft tap, tap, tap. I froze. It was faint, but there, coming from downstairs, from the living room window. I turned off the bathroom light and stood still, holding my breath. Tap, tap, tap. Slower this time, more deliberate. I crept to the top of the stairs and listened. Nothing. No voices, no footsteps. Just that uneasy silence that feels too quiet. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app. We had a cheap outdoor security cam above the porch. It wasn't great quality, but it did the job. I loaded the feed. Nothing. Just the yard. Porch lights glowing, rain glistening on the driveway. I sat back down, laughed at myself, and figured it was probably just a tree branch or the wind. But then, knock, knock, knock. Louder, firmer, at the side door. My blood turned cold. No one ever used that entrance. It leads to the laundry room, barely visible from the street. I checked the camera again. Still nothing. Heart racing, I tiptoed downstairs, staying low. I didn't turn on any lights. My hands shook as I grabbed a kitchen knife. I crept toward the hallway that led to the side door. There's a tiny frosted glass window on that door, and through it I could see a silhouette. A man, just standing there. Not moving, not speaking, just waiting. I ducked behind the counter and called my dad. He answered immediately, and I whispered what was happening. "Don't move," he said. "Stay hidden. I'm calling the police." From where I crouched, I could hear the man's feet shifting. Slow, deliberate, and then knock, 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 knock. Rapid, aggressive pounding that echoed through the house. Then silence. I dared to peek over the counter again. The silhouette was gone. But when I checked the camera feed this time, I saw something that made my stomach flip. The man was now in the backyard, standing by the shed, looking up at the second floor, at my bedroom window. I knew then, he must have been watching me before I even realized. I stayed crouched until the red and blue lights finally lit up the walls. 2 officers came inside and did a sweep of the property. The man was gone, but they found muddy footprints all around the house. Windows had smudges, like he'd pressed his face against the glass. One officer pulled me aside. "We've had 2 similar reports this week. Same MO, lone teenager home alone. Someone watching, knocking, testing doors. No forced entry. Just psychological games." Before they left, I thanked them. But I couldn't sleep that night, not even with every light on. And the worst part? The next morning, I found a note under the welcome mat. One line, written in black ink. "You shouldn't watch scary movies alone." It was the first weekend of summer break, and my parents had taken my little sister to visit my aunt out of state. I stayed behind to watch the house and enjoy some peace, or so I thought. Our house is in a quiet suburb, safe, predictable. We've lived there for years, and I've never once felt uneasy, until that Saturday night. It started around 11:30 p.m. I was in the living room, scrolling through my phone, with a bowl of chips in my lap, and some random horror documentary playing in the background. The kind of night every teenager looks forward to. But then, I heard it. A slow, dull thump. At first, I thought it was just the house settling. Old houses make weird noises, right? But then it came again, closer this time. Thump, thump, creak. That last sound definitely wasn't the house settling. It sounded like something, or someone, stepping onto wood. I muted the TV and sat perfectly still. Another creak. From the hallway near the back of the house, right near the crawl space door. Our crawl space is weird. It's not outside. It's in the hallway closet. Small wooden hatch, barely used. In fact, I can't remember the last time my dad opened it. Now my eyes were fixed on that hallway, my breath caught halfway in my chest. I told myself it was just paranoia. Maybe a raccoon somehow got in. That happens, right? But then I heard something that made my stomach flip. A knock. From inside the wall. Not loud, just soft, deliberate. I stood up, holding my breath, and slowly walked toward the hallway. Each step felt like a mistake. The shadows got longer. The silence felt like it was pressing in on my ears. I opened the hallway closet slowly. There it was. The crawl space door. Closed, but not latched. The tiny metal latch that always stays fastened was hanging loose. Then I saw it. Fingertips. Just the tips, slipping back into the darkness of the crawl space as I stood frozen. I wasn't imagining it. There was someone in there. I slammed the closet shut and bolted to the front door. Locked. Deadbolted. I fumbled with the keys, hands shaking. But then, I remembered my phone. I had left it in the living room. I was alone, unarmed, and someone was inside my house. Literally inside the walls. I slowly backed away from the front door, eyes still on the hallway. The silence was unbearable. Then suddenly, a low creaking sound. The crawl space hatch opened. I didn't wait. I sprinted to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I could find, and ran into the garage, slamming the door behind me. I locked it, then opened the garage door and ran to the neighbor's house barefoot. They answered in seconds. I must have looked insane. The husband called the cops, and his wife wrapped a blanket around me while I sat shaking on their couch. The police showed up in less than 10 minutes and searched the house. And yeah, someone had been living in our crawl space. They found blankets, fast food wrappers, a small lamp, even a phone charger plugged into a hidden outlet under the floorboards. But no person. Whoever had been there must have slipped out the back while I was frozen in the hallway. The officers said it wasn't the first time they'd seen something like that. Squatters living in attics, basements, or crawl spaces. But they had no idea how long this person had been in ours. The worst part, when I finally got my phone back, I noticed something. There were photos in my camera roll, photos I didn't take, of me, sleeping. This happened 2 years ago, when I was 16. My parents were away for the weekend, and I had the house to myself. Nothing unusual. We lived in a 2-story place in a calm neighborhood, and we had one of those built-in intercom systems. The old kind, wired into every room. We never really used it, until that night. It was around 1:15 a.m. I was in my room upstairs playing games with my headphones on. The house was dark except for my monitor's glow. Everything felt normal, until my intercom clicked on. Pshhh! That soft static hum you hear before someone speaks. I froze, pulled off my headphones. The intercom in my room, the one by the door, was lit up. That meant someone had pressed the button from another room. I waited. Nothing but soft static. I pressed the button back. Hello? Silence. I walked out into the hall, checked the other rooms, the guest room, my parents' room, the bathroom. All dark, all empty. I told myself it was a glitch, maybe a short circuit or something. I went back to my room, left the intercom off, and tried to calm down. 10 minutes later, it happened again. Pshh! The intercom came on, and this time there was a whisper, not words, just breathing. Slow, wet, right up against the mic. I jumped up, heart pounding, and pressed the button hard. Who's there? The intercom clicked off. I rushed downstairs, checked every window, every door, still locked. I even checked the basement. Nothing. I told myself again, maybe the system was malfunctioning. Then I went into the kitchen and noticed something chilling. The intercom panel in there, the one by the fridge, had smudges on it, like fingerprints, fresh, greasy. But no one had used that panel in months. I stared at the intercom. Then it turned on again. "You're not alone." The voice was low, not whispered this time. Calm, male, older. I backed away slowly. "Who are you?" I shouted. "What do you want?" No response. I ran back upstairs, slammed my bedroom door, and called the police. While I was on the phone, the intercom in my room lit up again. But this time, no voice. Just this tapping. 1, 2, 3, then silence. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. I let them in through my window. They searched the whole house, didn't find anyone. But in the attic, they found something terrifying. A sleeping bag, empty food cans, footprints in the dust. Someone had been living up there quietly for who knows how long. And worse, there was a hole cut in the wall, leading to the intercom wiring. They had rewired the system manually, which means that voice wasn't from one of the panels, it was coming directly from the walls. If you've ever had a creepy experience at home, hotel, or even anywhere, share it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying true stories. Thanks for watching.